been holding off on this video and I've been waiting for it, but we are here and locked and loaded for it. B-Ball Explained dropped a video talking about every NBA team's realistic prediction for 2026. He went over everybody in the league. You know, one team, and the only team that we care about, the Golden State Warriors. You know, everybody's been on our dick because we haven't made no trade moves and this, and that. But get off our dick. Stop worrying about us, man. We good. We chilling. Everybody on our top because we ain't made no moves, man. Worry about your team.
Nets. Brooklyn's got over $80 million in cap space, which means they could start absorbing bad contracts just to rack up future picks. There's a chance they walk away with more than 3 first-rounders if the trades line up right. Igor Demon, the number 8 pick, might slide into the starting small forward spot. He's 6'9", has real playmaking instincts, and even though he's still raw, the upside's massive. Cam Thomas is still stuck in restricted free agent limbo, and if talks don't go anywhere, the Nets could move him just to stock up on draft assets. Nick Claxton's another piece teams are watching. He's on an expiring $20 million deal, and if contenders start sniffing around near the deadline, he could be on the move. With no reason to win right now, the real focus could be on the 2026 draft. Nolan Traore might not play right away. The defense will probably be ranked near the bottom. Wizards. Vegas set their win total at just 20.5, the lowest in the East, even after adding CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. They're clearly still deep in rebuild mode. Trey Johnson, the number 6 pick, averaged nearly 20 points at Texas and could start at shooting guard. He's an elite scorer, but his defense definitely needs work. Alex Sarr made the all-rookie first team last season and put up 13 points and 6.5 boards a game. But he's got to bump up that field goal percentage. Bilal Coulibaly showed real promise on both ends.
Yeah, Bill
if Middleton gets
moving.
moved, Coulibaly could slide into the starting small forward role. McCollum's likely trade bait by the deadline since the team's more focused on keeping cap flexibility. The defense was brutal last season, giving up over 120 points a game.
Wow.
Second worst in the league. Sarr's rim protection could help. They'll want to hang on to their top 8 protected pick in 2026, so the tank might continue. Cam Whitmore's now in the mix after arriving from Houston.
Oh shit,
Bilal
I forgot
and
about
Sarr
Cam
playing
Whitmore.
in Eurobasket could really help their development. Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles injury in Game 7 of the finals changes everything.
But the Pacers don't even have a single nationally televised game. Like, not a single one. Like, even the Hornets have, like, I think 1, or the Nets have 1. They don't have any. Like, it's like they wiped the Pacers off the planet.
He's out for the whole season, which leaves Indiana without their lead scorer and top playmaker. Andrew Nembhard might be the starting point guard, or T.J. McConnell. Miles Turner's departure to Milwaukee also stings. He was one of the league's best shot blockers and a rare floor spacing center. Now they'll rotate Tony Bradley and James Wiseman to fill that gap.
Nasty.
The starting 5
That's
could
nasty.
be Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal, and Bradley.
And that's why they don't deserve a nationally televised game. 100%.
The bench has Jarras Walker, Obi Toppin,
Nasty.
Johnny Furphy,
Nasty.
and McConnell. But
Nasty.
the lack of a real
This team is nasty.
center and Halliburton's absence are major holes. After reaching the
Hey,
finals,
in the East,
this
you can
group
make
could
the
slide to
play-in
the play-in
easily.
range with around 35 to 40 wins.
This is a good 10-seed team, for sure.
Mathurin might get over 20 points per game as the main option, and
Facts.
Walker should get more time at power forward. Furphy and Cam Jones are G League candidates.
Yeah.
They're $22 million below the tax, with space to add a mid-level player. If things go south, Siakam could be traded. Most likely outcome, 11th to 13th in the East,
11
focused
to
on
13th?
development.
I
By the
can
way,
see that.
if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Hornets. Everything depends on LaMelo Ball's health. He played just 60 games last season, and if he misses extended time again, the ceiling drops fast. Kong Newpel, the number 4 pick, is stepping right into the starting shooting guard spot. He shot nearly 65% true shooting at Duke,
Wow,
but adjusting to
that's pretty good.
pro-level physicality will be the big test. In the front court, Miles Bridges is back, and Grant Williams is working his way back from an ACL injury, but both are undersized at power forward. Mason Plumlee is holding down the center spot for now, but not exactly a long-term fix. Spencer Dinwiddie was signed to bring veteran depth, though that could eat into minutes for Trey Mann. Brandon Miller averaged over 20 points per game after the break last season. If his efficiency climbs, he could start to draw all-star attention. The young core still needs time, and projections put them in the 25 to 30 win range. At the deadline, they might bundle some guards for a real center. Right now, expectations are low, and development takes priority. Bulls. Their win total's been set at 32.5, a drop from
32
last season's
and a half?
39,
Damn.
putting them in the bottom 7 league-wide. That says a lot about how uncertain things are. One reason is the heavy reliance on young players like Modest, who made the all-rookie second team and averaged 13 points after the break. He'll likely start at small forward and take on more playmaking. Josh Giddey wants a 5-year deal worth over $30 million per season, and with few alternatives, Chicago might actually give it to him, which could shrink future cap space. Vooch is still sitting in trade rumor limbo, but with little interest out there, he probably sticks around unless the Bulls
Chicago
take on a
looks
bad
just
contract.
nasty,
The
bro.
backcourt's
Ain't nothing
overcrowded,
going on
with
over
Kobe
there.
White, Trey Jones, and Dosunmu all fighting for minutes. If Giddey gets paid, White could be the odd one out. If the team stumbles early, the front office could finally shift into rebuild mode. Noah Essing's project. If things go south, even fan turnout might take a hit.
That's the project? The poster kid? Oh man, GG Chicago. GG Chicago. Bro, you're relying on a kid that got postered. Oh, GG.
With Brandon Ingram on board, RJ Barrett looks like the odd man out and could be traded. The team's likely looking at another play-in exit, mostly due to shaky chemistry and not enough depth at point guard. Head coach Darko might be on thin ice after struggling to blend all the new pieces together. Grady Dick has to prove he belongs by knocking down shots more consistently or risk being labeled a miss. By the trade deadline, Toronto could be leaning hard into a rebuild and might flip Ingram for
They've been in
younger
a
assets.
rebuild since
The defense slipped into the bottom 10 when they lost OG, and they haven't found an identity since. Long term, they're expected to draft a point guard in the 2026 draft to pair with Barnes. With Ujiri gone, the front office feels a bit rudderless, and that uncertainty could linger as the season rolls on. Celtics. With Tatum sidelined indefinitely, Jaylen Brown could take over as the primary scorer and average over 25 points per game. Anthony Simons, picked up in the Drew Holiday trade, adds some firepower, but the overall roster took big hits. Without Kristaps and Holiday, and with Tatum out, they might land in the play-in tournament range. If things keep slipping, Brad Stevens could face real pressure, especially if the team misses the playoffs. The defense is no longer elite after losing key anchors, and it could slide to the middle of the pack. That opens the door for a top 10 pick in the 2026 draft, which, combined with a healthy Tatum, might set up a reset. If the season goes off the rails completely, they could end up joining the chase for the first pick next year, whether they admit it publicly or not. Heat. Norman Powell could walk away with 6th Man of the Year after putting up over 21 points per game last season. The scoring load is on Tyler Hero, who could easily average over 25 points as the new offensive focal point.
And still be the
anchors
number
the
8,
defense
still be an
and could make
seed.
another all-defense team. Staying in that top-tier big man conversation, Andrew Wiggins might be moved by mid-season since his role overlaps it with both Hero and Powell. Right now, they're projected to land somewhere around the 9th or 10th seed in a pretty weak East, making them a fringe playoff team. If the season turns into a mess of injuries, they could shift focus to developing young guys and fall into the draft lottery. For now, the plan leans more toward protecting 2026 flexibility than chasing a deep playoff run. Bucks. Giannis could be on track for another MVP season, still seen by many as the top player in the East. He might have to carry even more of the load, possibly averaging 30 points, 12 boards, and 6 assists, especially with Damian Lillard gone. Miles Turner now steps in to replace Brook Lopez and should instantly help the defense at the rim. Doc Rivers is expected to get creative with his lineups, especially with younger pieces like Kevin Porter and Gary Trent needing roles. They're projected somewhere between 5th and 7th in the East, making them a fringe top 4 team. Cole Anthony's arrival from Orlando gives the bench a scoring jolt, and he could thrive as the 6th man. Bobby Portis might get moved by the deadline since there's a logjam at power forward. Now that Prince got an extension, the team's had issues against elite opponents and still lacks that next level to really challenge teams like Cleveland or New York. Without Halliburton or Tatum in the mix, they could still push to the second round before hitting their ceiling. Sixers. If Joel Embiid misses time, that leaves Tyrese Maxey with the scoring load, and he could end up averaging over 27 points per game while also running the offense. Paul George, now 35, with multiple knee surgeries in his rear view, may not be the impact player they hoped for. Rookie VJ Edgecombe has talent, but he's raw, so we'll see. With all the injuries piling up, they're projected to land in the play-in range at best, and missing the playoffs again wouldn't be a shock. If things unravel by mid-season, the front office could hit the reset button and move Embiid or George at the deadline. The defense is shaky without Embiid anchoring the paint. likely dropping into the bottom 10. If the collapse comes, a full reboot around Maxey and Edgecombe could be the next phase in the never-ending process. Hall. Trae Young could lead the league in assists again after averaging over 11 last season. With Kristaps now in the mix, the front court gains much-needed rim protection and spacing, but his injury history means he might still miss 20 or more games. Offensively, they've got the pieces to be top 10, especially with the additions of Porzingis and Alexander Walker. Plus, Luke Kennard's potential to shoot over 45% from deep gives Trae a perfect outlet. Dyson Daniels is expected to build off what was called a huge leap last season and could find a bigger role here. Jalen Johnson might turn heads and start getting most improved attention with his versatility alongside Porzingis. The defense, though, still looks mediocre. As good as the offense might be, Young's limitations on the other end continue to drag things down. ESPN projects them as a play-in team, but if everything clicks, there's upside to push into the top 5. There's even buzz about a possible trade for Trey Murphy, which could raise their ceiling even more. Until then, the balance between star power and system fit is going to shape how far they can really go. Magic. With their projected win total set at 51.5, expectations are sky high after the additions of Desmond Baines and Tyus Jones. Paolo could be in line for an All-NBA spot after averaging over 25 points when healthy last season. If he keeps that pace and the team keeps winning, top 10 in MVP voting isn't out of the question. The defense should still be elite after ranking second last year, with Jalen Suggs locking things down on the perimeter. Baines' arrival helps fix the spacing issues. He's a career 41% shooter from deep and could easily hit over 40 again. Franz needs to bounce back from a rough shooting year where he hit just 29% from 3. Suggs playing at least 65 games would be huge, especially after missing so much time with a quad injury. This roster could push for a top 4 seed in the East, and if they stay healthy, they might even win their first playoff series since 2010. Tyus Jones brings stability off the bench and adds some steady production at point guard. With the East in flux, Orlando looks ready to climb. Pistons, after going 44-38 last season, they could take the biggest leap in the East and push for 50 wins. Cade Cunningham's growth continues, and he might finally break into the All-Star starting lineup as the clear face of the franchise. Their defense, already top 10 under Monty Williams, should stay strong with a full season of continuity. Karis LeVert fits perfectly as a secondary scorer, bringing some much-needed veteran steadiness. Duncan Robinson's shooting could be a major boost. If he keeps hitting over 40% from deep, spacing will not be a problem. Jalen Duren's emerging fast and could average a double-double, establishing himself as one of the better young bigs in the league. Thompson's shot has to keep trending upward, especially for their wing depth to hold up over a full season. Playing at one of the fastest paces in the league, they'll run a ton, with Cunningham pushing in transition. If everything breaks right, this group could not only reach the playoffs, but also win a series. If that happens, Monty Williams might sneak into Coach of the Year talks as this young roster finally finds its rhythm. Knicks, they could finish second or first in the East this year, thanks to strong roster continuity and Mike Brown stepping in as head coach. Jalen Brunson's in position to make an All-NBA team after establishing himself as one of the league's best point guards. Karl Anthony Towns will need to improve on the defense under Brown's system, and if he does, it changes their ceiling. Offensively, the team could crack the top 10, especially if Brown's emphasis on ball movement clicks with this group. Bridges led the league in corner three-point makes last year and could do it again. OG still anchors the perimeter as a top-tier defender and has a shot at an all-defense selection. Off the bench, Jordan Clarkson adds an instant scoring jolt and might push for sixth man of the year.
Mike
With
Brown,
this
man.
roster and a
New
healthy
York,
season,
man,
they could win over 50 games
one.
and push Cleveland for the top seed. A trip to the finals is on the table if
Yeah.
everything
New
falls
York
into
goes
place.
to the finals,
If Brown
that would
manages
be
to improve
crazy.
both ends of the floor, he could find himself right in the middle of the Coach of the Year conversation. Cavaliers, after finishing with a 64-18 record last season, they're lined up as favorites to win the East, especially with new additions like Lonzo Ball. Donovan Mitchell could take another leap and enter serious MVP territory after an already dominant year, especially if his playmaking continues to grow. The offense was number 1 in offensive rating last season and should stay top 5 with so much continuity. On the defense, Ball and Nance add energy and versatility, giving them a shot to move into the top 10 in defensive rating. Jarrett Allen remains a force inside and could earn an all-defense selection, working alongside Evan, who's trending toward a top 3 defensive player in the NBA. Darius Garland might average over 20 points and 8 assists, stepping up as a key secondary playmaker. If everyone stays healthy, another 60-win season is absolutely in reach. The path to the finals runs through the West, with Oklahoma City or another top team waiting. But Cleveland looks ready. If Lonzo Ball can stay on the floor, that would be huge. Suns, the post-Kevin Durant era has
like
officially started, with Durant traded and Bradley Beal bought out. Now it's Devin Booker and Jalen Green leading the way. Though neither is a true point guard, Green's explosiveness is real, but his efficiency still holds him back, especially since nearly half his shots come from three.
It'd be hard as fuck
Booker
out there in
may end up
Phoenix,
running
but
the
they
offense,
look real life
but creating
cooked.
for others isn't his strong suit either. Rookie center Keeman Malawak has long-term potential, but he's raw and not ready yet. So Mark Williams will handle starting duties for now. On the defense, things are a mess. They rank near the bottom with no real rim protection and limited perimeter stoppers. Jordan Ott takes over as the fourth head coach in 4 years, and the lack of stability is clearly taking a toll. Projections land them between 25 and 30 wins, worst in the West, and they'll likely be chasing a top 3 pick in the 2026 draft. Trade rumors around Booker could heat up fast if they spiral. Dylan Brooks starts at small forward for defense, but his offensive limitations are hard to ignore. This rebuild is just getting started, and it won't be quick. Jazz, they fully embraced the youth movement after trading away Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, and John Collins, now holding the youngest roster in the league with an average age of 23 and a half. Rookie wing Ace Bailey, the number 5 pick, is already making waves and could average over 15 points while anchoring a strong Rookie of the Year campaign. Laurie might not finish the season in Utah. If things go south, he's a prime trade candidate for picks. Kyle Filipowski possibly earned the starting power forward spot after dominating Summer League, and his rise is one of the early bright spots. With all this turnover, the team could drop over 60 games, but the development of young talent stays the priority. Nurkic plays the veteran mentor role, but doesn't match the timeline, and a trade could be on the table. On defense, Walker Kessler, Taylor Hendricks, and Bailey form a solid core to build around. They're not trying to win now. Instead, they're angling for the top pick in 2026, hoping for maybe Cameron Boozer. This year's all about patience. Blazers. The front office says this is their final rebuilding year before shifting to contention, setting the tone for a crucial season. Drew Holiday brings leadership and defense, but losing Simons hurts their spacing, with Holiday's shooting drop-off creating offensive challenges. Scoot Henderson has made strides, averaging 16 points and 7 assists, though his efficiency still needs work. On the defense, they've quietly become a top 10 unit, thanks to the presence of Donovan Clingan, Toumani Camara, and Holiday anchoring the perimeter and interior. Offense, though, is a different story. They're near the bottom 10 in scoring, and the lack of shooters makes life harder for everyone. Damian Lillard remains sidelined with an Achilles injury, but he's sticking around as a mentor to the young backcourt. Rookie Yang Hansen, taken with the 16th pick, is already flashing potential as a stretch big and could be part of the long-term plan. Jeremy Grant is a name to watch at the deadline. He's likely moved for more picks or younger talent. They're projected for 35 to 40 wins, falling short of the play-in in a brutal Western Conference. All eyes are now on 2026 and potential star trades to kickstart the next phase. Pelicans. Everything starts with Zion Williamson's health. He played only 30 games last year, and unless he hits at least 60, this team's ceiling stays low. Jordan Poole steps in to replace CJ McCollum and could score over 20 points per game, but his efficiency remains a problem. Rookie Jeremiah Fears, the number 7 pick, has shown flashes early, but fellow first-rounder Derek Queen is missing time with a wrist injury. On defense, Herb Jones and Trey Murphy III continue to anchor a solid unit, but Poole's lapses on that end drag them down. DraftKings projects just over 31 wins, but if Zion stays healthy, they could bump that up into the 35 to 40 range and make a play-in push. Looney adds some experience to the front court, but doesn't change much. If Zion's injury issues or off-court problems resurface, he could be moved by the deadline. With the West this crowded, even a decent season might not be enough, and missing the playoffs again could lead to a full rebuild in 2026. Kings. They're expected to hover around 36 wins, landing just outside the play-in range. Dennis Schroeder might start at point guard after signing a 3-year deal, but he's more of a placeholder. He'll likely average around 13 to 15 points and 5 to 6 assists, but his defense and shooting splits from last season don't exactly inspire confidence. Monk is still the sixth-man engine, though trade chatter around him hasn't gone away. LaVine and DeMar are the main scorers, but neither is going to help fix a defense that's ranked bottom 10. Sabonis continues to lead the league in rebounding and remains the offensive hub, but there's still no rim protector after the team traded all their bigs to clear space. Doug Christie moves into the full-time head coach role after going 27-24 last season, with an emphasis on toughness and discipline. Keegan Murray hasn't taken a step forward, and his shooting's dipped. They'll likely explore trades for a defensive wing or big by the deadline. Most likely outcome, 35 to 38 wins, and another season stuck between rebuilding and competing. Mavericks. Cooper Flagg jumps right into the starting forward spot and could average around 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists as a two-way force. He'll take on a big playmaking role with Kyrie out, which means a mix of high-level passing and inevitable turnovers. Anthony Davis anchors the defense and might put up 25 points, 11 boards, and 3 blocks per game while playing around 65 games with plenty of rest days. Kyrie's return from an ACL tear won't come until January or February, and even then, he'll be limited to about 25 minutes a night early on. D'Lo starts at point guard
in the meantime,
likely posting 14 points and 6 assists, but his defense and sub-35% shooting from 3 could create problems. PJ Washington moves to small forward next to Flagg and could average 15 and 6 while hitting 40% from deep, though his contract makes him a possible trade piece. Daniel Gafford starts at center, but Derek Lively's upside could earn him more minutes, especially late in games. Expect Dallas to hover around the 7 to 10 seed range and explore deals for more backcourt help. Warriors. They're the only team that didn't make a single signing or re-signing this offseason, and with Steph Curry at 37, Jimmy Butler at 36, and Draymond Green at 35.
Guess what? We just made it to the second round of the playoffs, and would have probably gone further if he didn't get hurt. Both of them.
The age questions are loud. Their win total is projected at 46.5, showing real skepticism. If they stay healthy, they could flirt with 50 wins again, especially since they played at a 65-win pace after adding Butler last year. But if injuries hit, they could fall below 40 and set up a mid-season reset. Size is a clear issue. They've got no true rim protector, and their only real bigs are Trace Jackson-Davis and Quentin Post.
Don't worry about QP and TJD. They're going to be doing their thing.
Horford's been rumored, but nothing's happened yet. Defensively, they dropped to 18th last season, and aging wings won't help that. JK's restricted free agency is looming, and losing him would sting. Buddy Hield's playoff shooting was solid, but he'll need to repeat it. If things unravel, Green and Hield are both trade chips. The entire year hinges on health and just a little bit of denial. No. Grizzlies. The roster looks completely different after trading Desmond Bane to Orlando. In return, they picked up KCP and 4 first-round picks. KCP brings elite defense and playoff experience. Ty Jerome was signed for backup guard minutes, and rookies Cedric Howard and Jalen Wells give them fresh wing depth. Ja Morant's redemption arc is the big story. He struggled last year, but after a coaching change, he averaged over 28 points across the final 7 games. Whether he can stay healthy and focused will decide how far this team goes. Zach Edey's expected to start at center, but ankle surgery could delay his debut. If healthy, he might turn into a double-double machine. Jaren Jackson re-signed on a 5-year deal after missing Supermax eligibility. He remains an elite two-way force, but has to rebound better. Head coach Thomas Isalo shifts the system to a more pick-and-roll focused scheme, which fits this group. Their bench is deep, and Wells could help cover the scoring lost with Bane gone. Projections land them at 40 wins, but if everything clicks, 50 is possible. It all comes down to health and focus. Clippers, they're projected to be the oldest team in NBA history, with an average age over 33. The core of Chris Paul, James Harden, Brook Lopez, Kawhi Leonard, and Bradley Beal brings plenty of playoff experience, but also major durability concerns. They added Beal after his Phoenix buyout, traded for John Collins to boost athleticism, and signed Lopez to shore up the defense. They also drafted Swiss big Yannick Conan Niederhäuser at 30 and traded for Kobe Sanders. But overall, youth is in short supply. Despite the age, the defense was elite last season, ranking 3rd, and could stay top 5 with Lopez and a healthy Kawhi. Their win total sits at 45.5, with a ceiling around the top 4 seed if Leonard plays over 60 games. If he doesn't, they might fall into the play-in mix. Harden's expected to have the playmaking duties and could average over 10 assists, especially with Collins as a pick-and-roll target. The biggest threat isn't talent, it's time. The roster's expensive, capped out, and short on draft capital until 2030. Realistically,
Damn.
a second-round playoff ceiling is the most likely outcome before a looming reset around Leonard's 2026
So
free
y'all know what I'm
agency.
saying? We making the playoffs,
LeBron
but they
James
making the playoffs?
probably begins his farewell tour, but trade rumors follow him up to the deadline, even if nothing materializes. He finishes the year in purple and gold, but the vibe's full of finality. Luka puts up another monster stat line, 28 points, 8 boards, and 8 assists. DeAndre Ayton holds down the starting center spot, but his presence doesn't fix the
What's up, babe?
I'm gonna check on you. I haven't heard you yell since you grabbed that drink.
their rim protection problem. Bronny James, after a rocky rookie season, carves out 10 to 15 minutes a night as a backup guard.
Dinner almost ready?
Yeah.
Marcus Smart reclaims his defensive reputation, earning all defensive honors and proving to be one of the savvier free agent pickups. DeLuca and Austin Reeves might struggle as a backcourt pairing on defense, creating bigger questions about long-term fit. They end up with between 47 and 50 wins, good enough to avoid the play-in, likely landing between 6th and 8th in the West. Despite all the speculation, no blockbuster trades go through. LeBron gets a standing ovation in his final home game, closing out an era with one last postseason run. Spurs, with Victor Wembanyama healthy and Dylan Harper arriving as the number 2 pick, San Antonio looks ready to return to the playoffs, aiming for a 6th to 8th seed in the West. Wembanyama's poised to be an MVP candidate if he stays on the floor, potentially averaging over 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks a game. Harper steps right into the starting lineup next to Fox and could put up 15 points and 6 assists as a key playmaker.
All NBA
the team's
Fox.
average age is just 23 and a half, making them the youngest in the league, with a core of Harper, Wembanyama, Castle forming the foundation. On defense, the combo of Wemby, Sochan, and Castle gives them switchable size and serious top 10 potential. Fox brings leadership and clutch scoring, but his injury history, over 20 games missed last year, remains a concern.
He's still
Wemby's
elite.
past DVT issues also hang over the season. They've got trade ammo too, including Atlanta's 2026 pick,
Bro, if you trade De'Aaron Fox, you're stupid.
and could make a big move if they're
just signed
surging
him.
mid-season. The breakout is clearly coming. Timberwolves, they're projected for 50 to 55 wins, 7th most in the league, thanks to roster continuity and a defense that's still among the league's best. Anthony Edwards is coming off an All-NBA year and could crack the top 5 in MVP voting if his efficiency and leadership keep rising. Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels anchor a defense that stays top 5, with McDaniels even getting buzz as a Defensive Player of the Year dark horse. Julius Randle started slow, but is finding chemistry with Edwards and could average over 20 points and 8 boards. Reed remains in the 6-man conversation, offering scoring and spacing off the bench after signing an extension. They're likely to land between the 4th and 6th seed, but with Western powerhouses like Oklahoma City, Denver, and Houston, the path's crowded. Health is the concern. Randall's past injuries, Gobert's age, and Mike Conley at 38 all create questions. Rookies won't make much of a rotation dent. If Conley or Rob Dillingham struggle, they could explore adding a guard or shooter at the deadline. Most likely finish second round exit after a tough first round grind. Nuggets, with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray at the helm, they're positioned for another strong regular season and could clear 55 wins easily. Jokic stays in the MVP conversation thanks to his absurd efficiency and all-around dominance. Cam Johnson replaces Michael Porter as a more consistent 3-and-D wing, bringing better spacing and smarter defensive reads. Bruce Brown is back, giving the bench a defensive boost and some playoff-tested grit. Val upgrades the center rotation, offering more stability than DeAndre Jordan ever did. They're expected to be a top 3 seed in the West, right in the mix with Oklahoma City and Houston. A healthy season could finally push Murray into his first All-Star selection, especially if he takes another step as a scorer and playmaker. David Adelman, in his first full year as head coach, could quietly push into Coach of the Year conversations if they hold near the top of the standings. This team's physicality still gives them an edge, especially in tighter games. But even with all that depth and talent, the West is loaded, and they could run into trouble in the second round, likely bowing out against either the Thunder or the Rockets. With Kevin Durant now in the mix, they're aiming for a top 2 seed and have the firepower to back it up. Even at 37, Durant's expected to average over 25 points with elite efficiency, and his presence opens the floor for everyone. Alperen Sengun could make the leap to All-Star status, especially with the spacing Durant and Fred VanVleet provide. The depth is legit. Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, and Steven Adams give them size, switchability, and rebounding off the bench. Head coach Udoka's defensive system is thriving, and he's firmly in the Coach of the Year conversation. Thompson has taken a leap, showing growth as a secondary playmaker, which adds another layer to the offense. With Durant and VanVleet leading the scoring attack, they've built a top-5 offense. On the other end, they're just as sharp, with switchable wings fueling it.
When did Fred Fleet and KD all of a sudden just become a top 5 offense? What the fuck are we talking about? KD's a good offensive player, but what the fuck, Fred Valet now all of a sudden is just a bucket getter, scorer, all at will? Yeah, he played really well versus us in that series, bro. But we forget the first 2 games.
A top 10 defense. The Western Conference Finals is in sight, and if they get there, they could push Oklahoma City to 7 games. They've also got the assets swing a deal for another guard if needed. This roster's built to win now.
They lost to us in 7.
Thunder. They're entering the season as favorites to repeat, with Shea, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams all returning from a title-winning core. After a historic season, Shea could win MVP again if he maintains his scoring and playmaking efficiency. Their defense, ranked number 1 last year, should stay elite thanks to Holmgren's rim protection and Lou Dort's perimeter dominance. Off the bench, Alex Caruso and Isaiah Joe give them top-tier depth. Caruso locking down wings, Joe spacing the floor. They won 68 games last season and could push past 65 again if the roster stays healthy. Jalen Williams is turning into a star in his own right, with all-NBA upside as a two-way forward. Holmgren's defensive impact puts him firmly in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, especially if the Thunder lead the league again in defensive rating. The front office is expected to stay quiet at the trade deadline, keeping chemistry intact. The most likely path? Another deep playoff run, setting up a massive Western Conference Finals showdown against a loaded Rockets team. If everyone's...
Oh, he's in love with this Rockets roster. Get